Got a few likes out there already. Looks like my camera's a little crooked. I'll get that fixed maybe before we get too much further into it. Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, aka Man of the People. I enjoy covering this Carolina Panthers team for you all. This show today, actually, let me pause really quick because I got to be honest and upfront about something. I don't have any blue lights today because I actually wish I did. I wish I did because I would have pulled some people over, but big accident here in Charlotte that delayed me getting to the home studio in time to set up the lights. And also, pay careful attention. All right, and that's title for the video. It mentions that we will be giving away merchandise, and we still are, but we will not do that tonight. All right. So the reason is, man, when you have kids, they come in your studio, mess up your microphones and everything. Let me bring this down a little bit. Oh, now you can see it. All right, so now I need to put it back. But nevertheless, we will not be giving away anything tonight because feedback from the first giveaway and also just me dealing with a lot of people asking about how to register for the free merchandise. It wasn't good enough. It's not smooth enough for you guys. So I was almost ready to put out that new way for you to register to win the free stuff. That's much more easier. Just give you a link to do, but I did not have a chance to get it ready before the video. And I didn't just want to put it out there and it not work properly because, again, I want to pause for a second just to make it very easy for everybody to register for the Panthers merchandise that we will be giving away each and every week because we're going to be your best friend this season. I don't care if they win or lose. Me and Andre, we talked about it. We're committed to it. We said we're going to give away something every week. And honestly, I'm probably going to start giving away some jerseys too. All right, because I want it to be fun, and I know it's going to be a tough season. So, my apologies. It will be up very shortly, if not tonight. We still are giving away the merchandise. Just don't have the link for you right now at the top of this video. Who's that guy right there?
What's going on, everybody? I hope you like the setup again for day two of all the fancy semancy gigs that we have going on here, courtesy of the man of the people. Hope all you are doing well here on a Monday, and yeah, I'm excited to be here tonight.
You know, I really wanted to upgrade my setup at home tonight, Andre, to match yours, but again, I didn't have time. And let me get out a vent here because, as Andre has started saying, this is like family, right? I'm always really personable on the channel, talking about me and my family and stuff. Andre, feel free to do the same. My wife still is technically in law enforcement, and sometimes I wish that I had her badge. And today was one of those days where I had to control myself many times for not having a badge and other things that you can just laugh at personally there, Andre. But let me tell you, the highway was closed from right by my office, like literally right in front of my office. And people were just losing their minds, being ignorant, and saying, my life is important, yours isn't. And they're just driving around traffic, going the wrong way, driving down, just diving right in front of you. I mean, it was like insanity for people that's just trying to get by. I'm like, what's the point? There's nowhere to go. But that's my event. I'm gonna stop. Again, the link is in the description for you all to come on the show. So these day after game shows are fully committed to us having you all come on the show, ask your question, state your comment, vent, whatever it is. That link's in the description. Andre, are you able to pin that in the comments?
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that right now for you.
All right, so Andre's also going to pin it in the comments for y'all to click on that link, come on the show, talk to us, let us know how you feel, what's going on, what you like, what you don't like. Again, the jersey giveaways, and I don't want to say jersey because we're not giving away a jersey every single week, but the Carolina Panther merchandise that we're giving away will be part of this show as well, just not at the intro of this show tonight because I did not have a chance to get that link up there going. So let me give a few shout outs. We don't have any of our members on yet. Sea Dog's probably going to put me in a headlock, but he's been understanding so far. Mr. Jameson says, keep pounding with a little sad
Yeah,
face there. D Money says, keep bringing the content. I guarantee you we will keep bringing the content. All that there
absolutely.
is. We can talk some more about yesterday's game. We can talk some more about the game coming up against Minnesota. The battle of the have-nots will be taking place here in Charlotte in a few days. And Supernova Moore, what's going on? Appreciate you. D Money says all he wants is win. He said we keep the merchandise. Just give him a win.
I feel that. But we got to generate some buzz somehow, some way. That's one way of doing that right now, amidst the tough start that we've seen so far.
Yeah, the Mad Chatter says, "What's up, Chris and Andre?" Sea Dog always saying, "Hit the like button. It's free. Please hit the." Hey, the whole reason why we're giving away the merchandise is so that we can grow. So please, it means that much to us. So yes, we found a way to give away some merchandise, and we're happy to do so. And hopefully, you guys will enjoy it as well. Andre, let me give one more shout out here. Leonard Kowalski. Good afternoon, evening, Chris, Andre, and Panther Nation.
What's going on, Leonard? Good to see you on here tonight.
Do you have anything that you want to get off your chest as we get everybody a chance to get on here and start asking us questions? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about the. I watched a little bit of Frank Reich's presser today in regards to how things went yesterday, and he talked about this sense of urgency that the team feels now. Y'all didn't feel a sense of urgency in week 1 and week 2? That's really my main takeaway from that message that he had from the very beginning of that presser that he had this afternoon. Why are we just now talking about this sense of urgency, right? 0-3 in the regular season, 0-3 in the preseason. And we keep talking about, hey, we're not fully showing our cards yet, right? Well, doesn't that kind of go against what you're trying to say right now in regards to this now renewed sense of urgency that the team apparently has now? That should have been the case at the start of the regular season. And so now the Panthers have built a quite sizable 0-3 hole. And I want to go too deep into my thoughts because we're just getting started here. But just to warm everybody up into what I am saying and what I am hearing, the sense of urgency argument that we're just now seeing pop up here in the remarks from Frank Reich. My only question to that is, again, why wasn't this the case to start out the season? Because now it's starting to sound like too little too late if we're just now starting to bring that side of the argument into the picture.
Hey, we got Noah that has jumped on. So, Noah, I am going to bring you on in just a second. Andre, are you being hard on Frank? I feel like that's you want to hear him say there's a sense of urgency because they're 0-3. And he did say there's always been an urgency, but certainly they feel this heightened level right now because they're 0-3. I wasn't able to make it to the press conference today. I'm not going to bore you guys with my life. But I wanted to ask him about his conversations with Tepper, how often he's talked to him and what those have been like. Didn't get a chance to do that. I still may do that Wednesday or later on in the week when I get a chance to do so. D Money, the way that you can become a member. Everything that I talked about tonight is going to be in the description for you all. But if you want to become a member, there's a link in the description, and you can also scroll down just a little bit on YouTube, and you'll see a join link. We need members. We appreciate members. You get a little extra love and sound effects when you come on. So if you have any problems, you can certainly shoot me a message. I'm easy to get in touch with. Noah, you're on, buddy. What's going on?
That's good, man.
Oh, hi there, Chris. Oh, I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Did I lose video or do I still have video?
It's breaking up a little bit, but you're good to go. You can leave it on and maybe it'll
Oh, okay.
unfreeze.
I'm just pulling up my questions here. I have them pre-typed this time.
You got them
Let's
pre-typed?
see.
Oh, man. We
All
got a
right.
good one here.
I certainly do. Yes. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'll just go through these and then you can address them because I know I got like 5 minutes. I just got like 4 things here. So first thing, from what I was watching, we seem to have a lack of run game creativity. It looked like all of our runs were just right up the middle. And from what I was watching with Sanders last year with the Eagles, he likes to do like zone runs, like kind of off tackle stuff. We didn't seem to be doing a lot of that. It was pretty much just straightforward which Chuba tends to do. He's more of a vertical runner, but Sanders likes to kind of be patient, dance around, and kind of find his way through. But it looked like everything was just power runs right up the middle from like the 12 times we actually ran the ball. So that was the first thing. I would like to see more shifting and motioning. Like
All right.
We
I
lose him.
don't know what happened to you, Noah. You might have to move back to the living room or wherever you were when you first started.
let me try that. Go back over there.
All right, yeah, you're coming
Am I
back
coming
now.
back now?
Yep, you're good now. So you can
Okay.
start
Yeah, we
talking.
can hear you
All
now.
right. The next thing was the passing game play calling seemed to be a whole lot better. And then Reich said in his interview that he was calling more down the field pass plays for Dalton for some reason. I'm just wondering why aren't we doing that for Bryce, at least giving him the shots to be able to take them? Because if they're open, I'm sure Bryce can take the shots. I don't know what they were thinking with giving Dalton the more down the field play calls than Bryce had. That just didn't really make much sense to me. I wonder if you could address that. And then he also said that Dalton kind of just told him that he wanted certain things. So if that's all Bryce has to do, he better walk up into Frank Reich's office and tell him he wants some down the field plays if that's all it takes. Um, I thought it was good that the wide receivers were getting open on Sunday. That was nice to see. And then I wonder if y'all could address the fact that we are so injury prone year after year after year. Is it the turf? Is it our strength and conditioning coaching? Like, what is it? Because we seem to be more injured than the average team every single year. I don't really know what the problem is, but I mean, I just if it's our specific turf field or is it our training staff not doing what they're supposed to be doing with the plyometric exercises or what? Because it just seems like that's a constant thing for the Panthers. But that's it. I don't know if I went over
Oh,
five
I
minutes,
love
but
it.
Hey,
That was awesome, man. I
no,
love
we're,
it.
we're gonna get to it, but I'm gonna let you send over your resume so you can come on in and work for us. That was some pretty good stuff.
well,
Appreciate
Hey,
it.
thank you,
we'll make
Chris.
room for you, man.
Thank you, thank you,
I
Thank
thank you.
love that.
How good was that?
Oh man, that was you could feel the energy and everything that he was saying there. I mean, he made a lot of good points, and we'll divulge into a couple of those points here in a bit. But man, that was hey, that's why we're here because we want to hear from people like you out there who are angst, who feel restless. We want to hear what you're thinking out there, and that was a perfect example of why. And that was pretty awesome, I must say.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get all my information together to go through those. I don't know if you got a chance to write them down. So here we go. We're going to try to go through those. And I got to applaud you, Noah, because yes, we do give you a time limit. And he's like, forget that. I'm just going to throw all of mine in there. I'm not going to have the back and forth. I'm going to throw them all mine in there and then I'm going to get off. But this is great. And I sincerely appreciate the good questions. I hadn't had a chance to watch as much film as Noah probably has had to, so I'm like, next week I'm gonna get it together. I'm gonna make sure that I have rewatched the film several times before I come on, so I can answer those great questions that we have. So first one was talking about lack of run game and wanting to see more attempts to get Sanders uh, out toward the edges, zone read kind of thing. So that's for me one thing that I would have to go back and watch the film on to really see what they were doing specifically with Sanders to get him open. I do feel like there were numerous times where he was trying to go up the middle and just really didn't have too much of a place to go. But then overall, we got away from that. And I don't know what the attempts were. I got that maybe still saved from yesterday. So let me see if I can move it around really quickly here. So here we go. Oh, wrong button. Here we go, take two. So he had 9 carries. And yeah, so I almost feel like a little bit with just seeing that he had 9 carries, that there wasn't much of a chance to get him into trying many different things when you only have 9 carries in the game. So if you break that into the halves, which I'm hopefully these stats are going to be accurate here, he had 6 in the first half, and then he had 3 in the second half, 3 for 1 yard. So um, it's still nevertheless a good question, though, that I want to look at some film and come back to. Andre, did you have any more comments on that one?
Yeah, and this was something that Frank Wright talked about as well because there was plenty of questions regarding the lack of balance with the offense. He specifically said that there were 40 plays in the second half where they were in those 40 plays, they were down 2 touchdowns, right? So that kind of goes into the argument of, hey, we kind of have to pass the ball here because we just don't have the opportunity to run the ball because of how big of a hole the team was in under those circumstances. But this has been a trend for the first 3 games of the year where, there are opportunities to try to reestablish the run game. And part of establishing the run game is you want to win on first down and you want to make second and third down a little bit more manageable. And, when you see that Miles only had 6 carries in the first half, he did have a touchdown. So it wasn't like it wasn't working. I think it was just a lack of commitment to that aspect of the offense. And, Miles Sanders, let's just be frank about it. He's not a power runner, and that's how they're using him right now, which is a little odd to me because he's shiftier and a little bit quicker than your average guy. You need to use that to your advantage, and I don't think that the Panther offense, as of now, has figured that aspect out yet with him.
All right, next one was about the passing game. He said he liked it better. Why not more downfield opportunities for Bryce? So I would know part of that would be that Chark was the main guy that was going downfield yesterday that was able to benefit with Andy Dalton. And this was his second game back. Now, his second game back, he was back in full. That first game, he was not back in full. And I'm going to, man, I'll see how much quicker I can get with my Googling here. But I'm going to look at the snap counts from last week. Who did play last week?
The Saints.
Just to give Noah a little bit more information here. Let's see. So, Chark and his snap counts last week was, he had 37. Not a bad number at all last week. He had 37 for 62%. But they still may have just been a little bit cautious on just sending him down every play. So that's one comment for you there. Andre, I'm going to keep going, interrupting if you got something additional to add. And why not more downfield opportunities for Bryce? So that's what I feel about that part. I feel like most of it was due to him just now coming back last week. This week was his first time back in full, and they were able to capitalize on it. And then in terms of Dalton telling him he wanted more things, so I get 1,000% why someone as a fan was like, what the heck? So all he had to do was ask for it, and then you get this different kind of offense. Here's where I know Frank Reich is going to come from with this. Bryce has been highly touted as smart, intelligent, wise beyond his years, but they're still holding the reins on him because they're saying it's only 1 week that you've been in the NFL. It's only been 2 weeks that you've been in the NFL. And you're doing a lot of things right, but we don't want to put too much on your plate. I go back to when Frank told me about Bryce doesn't have the ability to change plays yet because there's wanting to gradually give him all this information. Don't want to give him everything. And now if something goes awry, there's so much more to fix because, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? So for that reason, I know they said Dalton's been in the league 13 seasons. We can give him all these options and things to choose from. He's a veteran. Bryce, we don't want to give him too much yet. And Frank said before, when your teenager first starts to learn how to drive, they may think and feel confident that they could drive all around the world, go see their friends, go to the mall, etc. But you're going to let them do it slowly. And the other one is on separation for the wide receiver. So I know before I jump into this one, Andre, did you want to address this? I don't want to take all the...
Well, just take a look at what they were matching up against yesterday. Seattle was, I believe, near the bottom in the league in pass defense. I think the matchup was a little more favorable in regards to what they had to work with. And so there was more flexibility there to be a little bit more aggressive with the passing game. And you saw it be evident there where, finally we got to see some explosiveness from DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. You want to see more balance, obviously, in that regard. But the plays were there, just simply put, because of the matchup of which they were facing. And so I think even if Bryce Young was in the position of where Andy Dalton was in yesterday, I felt like they would have been a little bit more open with the play call, even if he was still in there yesterday, just due to the matchup and all the injuries that they had in their secondary in regards to Seattle. So that just gave them even more of a reason to try and open up the playbook, just because they had a 13-year veteran back there. They have a guy who has seen it all in the NFL. That's what we saw contribute to what kind of output they were able to do yesterday.
Yeah, and touching back on the injury part, I have wondered the same thing. Like, should there be some big journalistic deep investigation into the training methods for this Carolina Panthers team? Are they doing something different with their workouts? I may still ask that question, but in terms of injuries, the Seattle Seahawks actually had more people on their injury report last week than the Carolina Panthers. I was trying to see if I could find that same sheet. It kind of gets updated, so I couldn't quickly find it. I don't want to take up all the time looking for it. But just in their final injury report before the game last week, we had Carolina Panthers had one, two, three, four, five, six people on that final injury report before the game last week. I think I said six. Did I say six?
Yes.
All right. The Seattle Seahawks, who do play on turf as well as the Carolina Panthers do, they had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine people on their final injury report before the game. So we had six, they had nine. So we do have a lot of injuries, but the other teams have injuries as well. We're just kind of getting compartmentalized because we are cheering for the Carolina Panthers about all the details. But very, very good questions, Noah. Appreciate it very much. We love it, people coming on. The link's still out there. I think it was last week. I had a queue of people just waiting in the green room to come on to the show and ask questions. Then, so I'm going to encourage you to still, once again, come on, whether you're on your cell phone, laptop, whatever, any device that's connected to the internet with a camera, click on it, come on the show, and talk to us. I'm going to go
And hey,
back
that
up.
link is pinned in the comments. So even more of a reason to come on and make your voices heard. It's so easy to do, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be shy because, again, we are your friends in the media. We want to hear from you. We won't bite, I promise. But yeah, please come on and join us here tonight. We're excited to hear from all of you.
So, understand, I feel like now that I'm trying to say it, I can't say his name, or Orlovsky. Gosh, I'm terrible. Last week said none of the wide receivers were
Kowalski.
getting open versus the Saints. So yeah, everybody said that. You certainly have heard, if you've been out there looking for updates on this Carolina Panthers team, people talk about the separation. I know in week one against the Falcons, we had, I believe, what was the worst average yardage of separations for a team. We didn't have that yesterday. One big difference between yesterday and the other two games was that the Seahawks played a lot of zone type coverage, which in itself will give you more separation because you're not playing man. So they, as Andre talked about, they did play a different type of defense, and that defense was a lot of zone type coverage, which did allow for more separation and some more throwing lanes. So you gotta hope, that's what we got yesterday in Seattle that was able to give us that separation. You still gotta hope that the coaching staff is preparing for when we do go back to a team that's playing a lot of man. What kind of situations will we get? And also just understand that it could change, right? Team, just like we change game plans and schemes each week for the team that we're playing, the opponent can do that for us as well. So we just need to have our coaches on top of their game to put these guys in positions, because Adam Thielen isn't going to suddenly get any jets that he doesn't have. None of our players are suddenly going to get like some speed and quickness that they don't have. They are who they are right now. They're on your roster. So coaches, you have to figure out how to put these guys in positions to succeed. The only thing these guys can do right now is maybe get stronger, right? They can lift more weights to do some other things, but nobody for the most part, it's going to get quicker at this point in their career. They are who they are.
Yeah, and when you look at the Saints game in particular, I remember seeing a lot of tape of how tightly the Saints played Carolina's receivers. I mean, there were at least a number of plays where all not past 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. That's how much disrespect they showed to the Panthers receivers because they knew they weren't going to get beat over the top. I mean, DJ Chark was back in that game, but he wasn't at his full potential like he was yesterday. So, there's going to be more chances to try to dispel the notion that these receivers can't get open because of the lack of speed. They'll have more opportunities to show that, but um, especially kind of like against Minnesota, there are going to be challenges with that. And Carolina's offense needs to find ways to expand and expel the defense out because right now, minus the Seattle game, it's been a struggle for them up to this point.
Yeah, what he said. Just messing with you. Hey, there's some upset football fans out there, and I think we have been getting some because you know, hey, I appreciate any and all feedback as long as it's coming from a good place. And last week it seemed like as soon as I got on, I'd get a thumbs down. I'm like, I didn't have a chance to do anything bad, so I felt like some people that are upset with this team can't come on and hit the unlike button. That's fine, it happens. I can't control the world. But with that, I saw some interesting stats floating out there on the internet today. Full disclaimer, I have not had a chance to research them all to verify them, but I felt like they were probably, if not accurate, darn close to accurate. You know what the Panthers' record are since the firing of Ron Rivera?
I think I
17
sent
wins
you that picture. Yeah.
and 40 losses. Did you send me that one? I don't. I had so much stuff flying at me today. 17
Yeah.
and 40 since the firing of Ron Rivera. So that will make you just want to live in the past. Let me see if I can
Yeah,
find the other one
that
I
says
saw.
that says a lot right there, and it shows you kind of just the state of where things are right now with the team. And when they made that firing, they're like, "Hey, we want to make an upgrade. We want to get past this stage of mediocrity, not having back-to-back winning seasons." Well, we can't even have a winning season since that whole situation with Rivera. So you know, sometimes you got to take two steps back to take a couple of steps forward. But as of right now, it's hard to really see the justification behind really anything that um, the team is doing right now.
Yeah, so here's the other one. Again, not completely fact checked yet, but and I don't understand this full one. It says Carolina has lost 53 straight games in which they've trailed in the longest in the NFL. Carolina has lost 53 straight games which they have trailed. I don't know. I think
Oh
that's like
wow!
a. I think that's a stat that's just like reaching for a failure. You know how like I love math and I remember learning about like how you can find a stat to support anything that you want. So for this one, I don't know.
Hmm.
Like everybody's trailed. So you're saying like the only people that would not be included in this is like if you never trailed in the game, or like what if you're trailing in the fourth quarter. So I don't know about that one. But there's a lot of people that are unhappy. There's talk about we should have kept my man Steve Wilkes. I love talking with Steve Wilkes. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that unfortunately is going to get brought up more and more and more as we continue to have really a lack of success to start out the season. And one of the things that I admired about Steve Wilkes, especially during that run that he led this team on, whether good or bad, he was extremely blunt in everything that came his way, whether good or bad. The criticisms, the ups and the downs. He was probably the most cutthroat person that we have had in a while behind the coach's podium. And not to say that Frank Reich isn't blunt or isn't as direct, but there's definitely a noticeable difference between the two and how they handle things and how they portray themselves to the media. It's definitely a noticeable change in that regard, and that's something I've always respected about him. And now he's in San Francisco, um, and he's doing pretty well for himself, I must say, Chris.
All right, so I'm gonna make sure that we do a good job. I like to blame Andre, so I might blame him a little bit for us not staying on top of the comments of the comment.
Oh, we're used to it at this point, ladies and gentlemen. We're all
But we're
good.
we're going to try to give some preferential treatment to those that are leaving comments. And we'll say this: we got a little distracted, or I got a little distracted, because the ultimate preference is given to those calling into the show. We want you all to get used to calling into the show. The links in the description. Then we're going to go to the people that have been members, and then we'll just continue to work the comments. So give me just a nanosecond to get my bearings here, and we're going to start rolling through those comments, and we'll just alternate back and forth. Or Andre, if I give you one, do you want to throw it back to me? That's fine. San
Yeah,
Francisco
absolutely.
49ers are 3-0. Sam Darnold's out there laughing at us. Saying,
Oh
take that.
no.
Christian McCaffrey's enjoying the
Uh,
great weather, and Steve Wilkes is
hey, even
just
Baker
like,
Mayfield too.
yeah, he's enjoying some good weather out there in Tampa. All right, let me see. All right, there. Look at. Oh, let's see. All right, so I'm going to stop stuttering is what I'm going to do, and go through some of these things. So Noah, we've already talked to. Tyrone Green is a member. He came on and gave us a bunch of question marks, so I'm not sure what he meant there. But we'll touch on this one real quick. No comeback wins, I guess, is what Darrell McNeil says in terms of when we are trailing in the game. Like, yeah, no comeback. So, all right, let me continue to work through these comments.
Oh, and let me touch on that real quick too, because something just popped up in my head.
Go for it.
Right. Chris, you asked me yesterday while we were covering the game, like we have been in these games, right? Like it's not like we're not in a situation to where we're immediately down once the game starts. We've been relatively competitive, really, in these first three games, specifically in the first half. It's really when teams make those adjustments in the second half where things start to derail and go south for Carolina. So, when you talk about, trailing and not winning in those games where we have trailed, part of it is because, and you can speak on the behalf of this regime, the past coaching regimes that have been through here, there's been a noticeable trend, and it's the outsmartedness of the opponent and being able to make those adjustments, Carolina not being able to react to them, and having to play catch up, which has been pretty evident here in the first three games. So there has to be a way to snap out of that streak and snap out of that trend. And I feel like that could change moving forward as everybody starts to get more comfortable with each other. And, again, with these Frank Reich led teams, they do start to pick up steam as the season progresses. But it's a dangerous trend right now. And on script, we're good. But when things start to go south and go bad, they kind of just, it's just not a good situation. And they cannot seem to find a way to get control of themselves, especially in yesterday's game. That was a prime example of that.
Yeah, and one thing that I just noticed what you're saying that is they actually improved in their second half comeback ability yesterday. They had 13-12 at the half, Panthers leading, but the
Yeah.
Seahawks came out and put up 10 in the third quarter. We did zero, so that's really where the difference came in. Because that fourth quarter, they came back. The Panthers came back. It was 14-15 in that fourth quarter in terms of points scored. So that could be a positive sign. All right, Andre, lock in the speed round. Right, we got about 20 more minutes, and we're going to try to get through a lot of these comments. All right.
Let's
Let's
do
go
it.
ahead and put this one up here. I'll read Andre. We'll just go back and forth. You're going to take this one first. I don't feel like the play
Okay.
calling is the problem. Players have to be held accountable.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes both ways too. You have to realize, hey, if the players are not being put in position to succeed, that's the other aspect of the argument there, where it's like, hey, what's going on here? It's a balancing act. Definitely, the players do deserve some of the blame, but it's a shared blame on both sides of that argument because either way that you look at it, they're not performing.
Play calling can't prevent Icky and those 8 or 9 false starts that we had, right?
It was eight, but regardless, way too many, way too many.
Willie Smith says the play calling should be based on the opponent front they are facing. I am at the point of watching the Panthers to see if they improve during the season. Keep pounding. Good comment. Appreciate that very much, Willie Smith, for you participating in the chat. And let's see what
Absolutely.
our man Shacked is saying. Shacked. Is that right? Shacked?
Shacked, yes.
I'm
He
surprised
got
no one
on
from
us a
the
little bit last week.
I'm surprised no one from the media asked Frank Reich why wasn't Dante benched after allowing 30 yards in the first and 25 passing plays, getting beat up easily on that play. I can answer that question. Well, if C.J. Henderson's hurt, if J.C. Horn's out, and how much deeper do you want to keep going on that bench to put a guy out there to get exposed? So though it could be frustrating, I don't think you have many guys that could just come up and you're like, okay, I'm confident. Put him out there on the island. Put him out there on Metcalf, and see what he does. I mean, Metcalf's a huge dude to go against. But I appreciate your comment, nevertheless. Leonard Krauske, they're using Miles Sanders like Stephen Davis when they should be using him like Deshaun Foster.
Oh, I like that one. That pretty much gets straight to the point of the argument there because, again, Miles Sanders is not a power back. You didn't bring him in to be a power runner. You brought him in to be somebody who can be elusive and who can be a participant out of the backfield when throwing the ball. They need to use him better. They need to utilize him better, use more of him because that's been the problem is the lack of balance with the offense.
Hey, inviting you all to still call in. Link is in the description and also pinned to the top. We'd love to hear from you, hear your comments, hear your questions. Football Psycho says the reality is we're not that good of a team. Taylor says don't expect much this year, Panthers fan. And that's correct, but that should have been still what you thought at the beginning of the season, in my opinion. And based on what I try to give you all, I always say though, I'm going to give you the facts. I was getting beat up when we were in training camp, and I was giving like the play-by-play and telling what happened, and people were like getting mad at me, and I'm like, I'm just telling you the facts of what I'm seeing. And from what I saw, I'm like, like we especially struggled in the red zone during the training camp, and then we especially struggled against the pressure. And we're starting to get better. I don't expect that to forever be the case. We have been getting better at that. Dalton was sacked, I think, 3 or 4 times yesterday. But curb the expectation. Still hope for the best. Be surprised. Let's see. We'll continue to move on. I'll tell you when I'm throwing another one back. It's hard being a Panthers fan. We haven't been good since Cam was our quarterback. You know what? We'll park this for 30 seconds. Start your timer. I'm a little agitated by all the Cam Newton talk. I just feel like that's. I think somebody yesterday talked about relationships and things, right? So this is so much like that girl from high school was 20 years ago. We have gone to college, we have graduated, and we have our own family. The girl from high school is just gone. Like, I'll give you a few seconds because it said just 30 seconds of a rant.
I mean, but it is a fair point, though. That was really the last time the Carolina Panthers were relevant. And what was that word that we keep saying and that we were hoping for this season was relevancy. When they rushed to get rid of Cam Newton and didn't have a plan to replace him, that was the start of the beginning of the end for our stake in being relevant.
Tell
And
me how
so
many
more
great games
playing,
Cam Newton had since he left the Carolina Panthers.
not a lot. But again, he was the guy that a lot of keys for this team. And now there's plenty of locks on right now because they still can't seem to get out of that past. We can't get past the past.
Yeah, I guess I can't be too
But
mad.
nevertheless,
He's not saying I wish we had Cam. He's just stating the fact. All right,
he is stating a fact.
I'll move on. Let Bryce Young play. He's a big boy. Stop holding him back. Andre.
I'm getting to that point. I mean, you can only coddle him for so long, right? Come on now. We have got to start letting the caterpillar loose. We can't continue to hide Bryce Young from what he is going to see from these NFL defenses. Got to let him go. Got to let him be free. Let him do things that he is known well to do. Um, there's going to have to be that moment in time where they're just going to have to let the training wheels off and let him be because those offensive performances in those first two games, they did not get the job done. So, there has to be that point where they need to make that adjustment and say, hey, Bryce, this is your time. Go out there and get it. It's going to happen soon, but it needs to definitely be something that they open themselves up to.
James Hines says, "Hey guys, I know we lost, but we had some players step up a little bit. What do you think?" Well,
Yeah,
we certainly
absolutely.
had
Yeah.
on the offensive side. I can think of Andy Dalton. I mean, he played a pretty respectable game. He had a boatload of pass attempts, and he didn't have any interceptions. That's really, really good. So I would say he stepped up with his leadership and conducting the offense yesterday. Chart, he stepped up pretty well. I think the question with him is not could he play well in the game, but just can he stay healthy? So we'll still continue to see how that goes. And honestly, in my opinion, this defense steps up. When you have the injuries that we had to, I don't sure if I'm gonna remember them all, but Luvu, Henderson, was there one more?
Xavier Woods.
Xavier Woods. And when you have all those happen, you would think like there's going to be some guy picked on, or there's going to be like this sudden bust of offense by the other team, and I didn't see that. So I feel like the guys that stepped up for those injured players did pretty well. And I'm gonna continue to move on. I saw Andre is about to open his mouth. He'll beat me up later, but let me continue to
I'll
try to
keep it to
rope
the
him.
vest for now.
There you go. Here's one if you want to comment on this one from Taylor Sheridan. All the injuries on defense have been caused because the offense sucks.
I mean, I can't say you're wrong, but I can't say that's the sole reason as to why we've had so many defensive injuries. But I mean, even Frank Reich has said it himself. We have got to stop putting our defense in such poor situations. And while they have held up through a good portion of that, they've been out there for a good bit of time here in this early stretch of the season. I mean, the time of possession yesterday was pretty even, but in the first two games, I mean, there was a pretty clear disparity, and so there gets a point where they just run out of gas because they were out on the field for such an extended period of time, and it's definitely showing in terms of the depth, lack thereof right now due to the injuries that this unit has suffered here from the very early part of the season.
Here's a good one. Long gone are the days of quarterbacks playing through injuries. Favre, Roethlisberger style. Burrow throwing it back tonight, though. Hmm.
Well, Patrick Mahomes did play through a good bit of pain during that playoff run last year with the Chiefs, so it's not like it's rare. It's not as rare as you're making it out to seem. I think teams are just being smarter about the most important position on the team. That's the moneymaker right there. And you don't want to, have your investment be taken out of the game because of a lack of care towards the injury or the position or the people of whom that injury is impacting. So I think um, you can't say that that position is soft because you have seen instances, fairly recent instances of guys toughing it out and making their presence available and their play available to gut it out for the team. So I can't say that it's as rare as you're making it out to seem in that comment.
Got to give a shout out here to my man Rodney. He's been on the channel for quite some time. He's saying what's
Hey, hey,
good, Chris and
hey,
Andre. Been a rough few weeks. It
it
has been.
has.
I technically
It
say it's
has.
been a tough couple of months because the preseason was part of what we're going through right now. But Noah
Oh,
Sparks,
and
one
let
of
me
our
say this
members.
too.
Hold on, let me get Noah already.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Sparks
What's
came
going
on.
on, Noah?
He said, "Thanks for the answers, guys. Great information as always." And Noah definitely has given me my homework. I love it when the questions make me better at my job and give me some work to do. So, really appreciate all those comments from Noah. Andre, you were saying?
Yeah, so there was a tweet that I had yesterday, and I literally just said this. I was like, wow, these past 5 minutes of this game have been hard to watch. And then I started getting all these replies of, man, talk about these past 5 minutes. How about this whole game? And then somebody else said, how about this whole season? And then it just kept going down and down to the point where somebody said, how about the past 5 seasons? It was just a ripple effect. And I was just trying to highlight a specific point in the game in which things started to go really down south for the team starting to pile on with all the negativity and all the just the angst and frustrations that people are feeling right now. So definitely has been a tough period of time for sure for everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy. Got a great comment here. Andre, you don't see the comments in real time, do you? So I'm going to have to keep reading them.
I do not. Yeah, it's delayed by about probably 10 seconds.
Boo. Have I given you enough time for the current one to show? From our Gadeas family? We
Um,
got the whole family watching. That's great.
Oh, here we go. I like it. Come on, guys. Hot, not hit, but I think he's trying to say hit the like button for these guys. It's crazy to me how they come on here and do all this, and we sit here and watch, but can't give a thumbs up. So, to the Arcadeus family, I hope I pronounced that right.
Did a much better job at
What
thinking
they
than me.
said, what they said, smash the like button, hit up those comments, subscribe, and like I say to all of you as well, if you've already subscribed, tell your mama, tell your dad, tell your best friends about what we're doing over here at the Charlotte Vibe because again, we're on here for the sole purpose today to talk to all of you and interact with all of you. So again, to the Arcadeus family, again, roast me if I didn't say your name right, but the message is clear. You all know what to do.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get at least one more call before we get off of here. I mean, guys, we're giving away free gear every single week. I don't think we could do much more. Let me drop some good tidbits for those that are still watching and for those who want a little bit of like, well, what good did happen yesterday, right? Um, mm, Trying to figure out what I want to share with you guys. Adam Thielen had 11 receptions for 145 yards. Um, Most recently for the Carolina Panthers, week 6 of the 2021 season was the last time that happened. So, some good things. You don't have to go all the way back to the Cam Newton era to celebrate there. Um, let's give another one.
Just a couple of years back.
Chark's 47-yard touchdown reception in the second quarter. The longest offensive touchdown since week 10 of the 2022 season by none other than wide receiver Laviska Shenault, who we haven't talked about this
Okay.
show, but you still kind of wonder about, hey, what are we going to do with Laviska, man? What are we going to do?
Well, in
Uh,
fairness, he hasn't really given us a whole lot to talk about. So, there's that side of it as well.
Has he been given the opportunity for us to talk about it?
It's a lack of commitment, I feel like. And again, that touches on
Here we go talking about
the
relationships.
right. But seriously though, it's a lack of willingness to want to run the football, and that's the balancing act that they're trying to handle here. But they need to use him. He's a unique piece in this offense, and I don't know why we're not making the concerted effort to try and get him involved. I mean, he is a strong individual. He's going to do something with the ball whenever he gets it. But again, it has to be a point of emphasis because he's a dynamic piece to what they're trying to do, and it's a necessity at this point that they get him involved.
Hey, is LaVisca harder to bring down than Miles Sanders?
I would say so, just from a power perspective. He's not as quick as Miles Sanders, but he does provide that run after catch ability, and they have to utilize that. I mean, there isn't anybody else on this team that has that unique skill set like Laviska Shenault. There isn't.
Yeah, maybe his challenge is that he's not a good route runner, so you can't really ever get him the ball downfield to try to use his run after the catch ability, and it's always just going to be something short. Because I don't feel like I've seen him on an attempted pass down the field this year.
Yeah, they say he isn't a good route runner, but again, dating back to last year, they haven't given him opportunities to run a selected route tree. And even this year, it's still the case. So maybe that is a trend that people are picking up on and are like, hey, maybe that is the truth about him. But you can't say that he's a bad route runner if you're not giving him the opportunities and the chances to prove why that's not the case. It's a conundrum right now that for whatever reason nobody can figure out with him.
You're all smart with these words. What does conundrum mean?
A predicament, a problem, a situation that causes stress. He's somebody that can cause stress to an opposing defense if used the right way.
What's double entendre?
Um, I'll defer to you on that one. I don't want to drop too much knowledge and then not be right on that one there. So I'm just gonna say I digress.
we had someone that was coming on. Hopefully they'll come back. And you know, I can't wait to get off this broadcast. Not because I don't love you guys, but my 2-year-old son, I think he's about to start talking even more because now he's like talking loudly, like he's excited. He can say some phrases. So you might start hearing him soon because he's loud. But here we go. Finish up strong. What's up? Hope everybody's doing well. One thing that has really affected us, has been affecting the Panthers, is the O-line play, with 2 starters being out and penalties are killing our team.
I feel
Andre, you on the
that,
clock?
and
You want me to get that?
I got it. With Corbett not being in there, that's a big part of it. He's a veteran guy, a steady guy on that right side. He has the potential to come back after next week, so we'll definitely see how they try to mesh him back into things. But yeah, the injuries have been a problem, and you could say that a lot about certain aspects of this team.
This season is a lot like Cam. When he had a bad play, he'd go sit on the bench, towel on his head, and pout. That's funny.
I have to laugh at that one. I don't want to react in the way that I was about to, but I'm just going to go and laugh with that one and play along with it.
Hey, can't wait to see 2 suck teams: Carolina versus Chicago and Denver versus Carolina. So there is some hope. There is some hope. I mean, we're not going to go 0-17. We got some matchups that, I mean,
are favorable. There's some favorable matchups. We're not going to lose 70-20 like Denver did yesterday. So I mean, I don't think that Carolina is that down bad to where something like that could take place. But there's some optimism there in that regard.
Hey, do you think the Carolina Panthers should have kept power back Deontay Foreman?
I think it's a fair question. I mean, he hasn't been involved in anything that Chicago has done so far this season. He was a healthy scratch in last week's game for them, and I don't know if that was the case this week, but you do feel like there should have been more of an effort to try to keep him here, and there was an interest there, but unfortunately, things didn't work out, and there's a need there. He certainly fills that need for the team, and unfortunately, we just don't have his services here.
Hey, why would you say we should keep a guy who's not even been active on the roster with his current team?
I think that speaks to the it speaks to the incompetence of Chicago. I think that's more of the case than it is about him. I think it's just a complete dumpster fire what's happening up there, and things are just not going in the way that they have liked, and it hasn't been the case for them for years. Why bring in somebody in free agency if you're not going to use them? It's just like here in Carolina. Why draft somebody if you're not going to have them play in the game? That to me has always been the disconnect that I will have with these folks in those positions. Like, you bring them in, you make the conservative effort, you make that investment to bring them there, but you don't use them. Like, what's the whole thought process behind that? It boggles me.
Let's end strong here. We got our wish.
Yes.
Mr. Eric, aka Mr. Lucky.
Okay. What's going on, man?
What's up? I just saw you guys live.
Doing all right?
And then I heard. Yeah, I'm watching the Eagles game, but I'm always for some Panthers content.
Hey, we're here for it. What you got for us? Did you hear my son say that?
I mean,
Did anybody hear it? Can you hear it?
I was just gonna say the Panthers, back, but I think before we made that Bryce Young move, I thought we were going to be bad for like 10 years, right? So even though we look bad right now, I think we'll be good within like 2-3 years because we got to rebuild. Like we need to make improvements in every position on the team, and I feel like we came into this season with like maybe we'll be good right off the bat, but we're seeing with all the injuries and stuff, it's probably not going to happen. But as far as some takeaways from our game versus the Seahawks, we looked a little bit better with Dalton. We looked pretty good in the first half. But I feel one thing I wanted to point out, besides all the injuries, in the second half, I feel like teams are figuring out what we're doing on defense besides us being tired. And they're figuring out how to get that one long pass on us or something. So I feel like we need to start going into the second half and be less predictable. You know what I mean? Because if we're just doing the same thing over and over and over, they're going to find holes in what we're doing. As far as on the defense, our defense has been doing pretty good. But could you see it on Andy Dalton's face in the second half? Like the look on his face after we had all those penalties. It was he was just like, oh, now right going through when he was out on the field. Like, we're not clicking.
Yeah, somewhere in the attic or the garage is Matt Rule's DBO sign that I'm sure he wanted to just tape on a few people's lockers yesterday after the game. He was quite dejected, as he should be, because he gave it a good effort.
But would you guys agree we had a chance to be good this year, but we're probably not going to be, and that it's going to be like 2-3 years, even though we don't have a first round draft pick next year. So that's why it's going to be like 2 or 3 more years, maybe.
Now, Eric, before I answer that, let me ask you this before I let you go as well. So, are you saying that you're optimistic with our current coaching staff that they should all stay in place?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like new players, new coach. It's not always going to click. Like, you got to give more than 1 year as a chance. You know, he only went through one draft, maybe. You don't know how much decisions he had. So it's like a teamwork thing. You got to try to keep as many guys together. And the ones that aren't working out, let them go. Try to find new talent. Um, and I will say, everybody who's like, I can't be a Panthers fan, we suck, blah blah. That's like a bandwagon fan. You got to be with the Panthers at the worst to be with at their best. You know what I mean? So
Facts.
I don't let it get to me when people are like, I can't even watch the Panthers anymore. It's hard. But when we're having those good moments, like when we had Cam get us to the Super Bowl, like those were the good moments, you know?
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm going to click you off because we're at our time limit, but hopefully you'll come on again. And I appreciate that we actually ended the show with somebody that had some optimism.
Yes.
Seems like he's a fan that hasn't been burned. It's like, hey, he probably laughs at the guy who punches a TV. Like, do you not have another life? Like, sports is nice entertainment, but you have other life. So appreciate it very much you coming on, Eric. Okay, Mr. What was his name? Mr. Lucky? I forget.
I
But
believe so. Yeah.
so the one question I need to answer, and then I'm gonna let it go to Andre, and then Andre, you can close us out. Was I think he asked, did we feel optimistic about this season before it started? And I say that yeah, certainly some optimism should be had because of the coaching staff. It's still, only week 3. Things have gotten better and we have not been blown out. There has not been a Matt Rule San Francisco versus Carolina Panthers type moment where we're just like beat silly and it looks like there's no effort out there. I did like the fact that he pointed out for the defense that I agree with him and I just hadn't remembered to say it, I guess, but I still want to give credit to the caller that the defense maybe not so much as getting tired, but they found that wrinkle or two that they could go in the second half and take advantage there. But what makes it so lopsided is that our offense doesn't find any wrinkles or has not, and we just kind of stall. You like to see them make adjustments, and we make adjustments so we can maintain our lead, and we've not been able to do that. Even though I still want to go back and point out that the Carolina Panthers seem like they actually did find it a little bit of their groove to come back in this Seahawks game because we got down with them scoring 10 points in the third quarter. A really good opportunity at a place in which they were loud. Our photographer came on at the end of the game. He's been shooting NFL games for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. He's been to Seattle several times, and he said, this is the loudest that he has heard it in that stadium. And you would think if they weren't coached well, if these guys were a bunch of quitters, that's a pretty darn good time. You are like the furthest away from Charlotte that you could be being in Seattle, Washington. It's not a longer flight that you could take and still be in America. It's rainy, it's cloudy, and it's so noisy that you're jumping off sides repeatedly. And it could have just been awful, but it wasn't. And they came back and they still played resiliently. So we got to remember that. We should remember that. But I can't deny that it could get hard to remember that when you have not had recent success. That there were some things to hold your hat on. And absolutely, with the number 1 draft pick as well, and Bryce Young only playing 3 games, yeah, I can still feel pretty optimistic that guy will have a light bulb go off and they'll open up things. I think they probably will open up things more now just because of Frank Reich saying that they're getting more desperate being 0-3. And I'm sure David Tepper is like, hey, Frank, we got some time, but man, give that guy the keys to the car. So that's my monologue to end it. I'll give Andre as much time as he wants to reply to that and wrap us up as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on the timeline that our lovely caller, talked about in relation to how long do you think it's going to take? He said 2 to 3 years. That was his humble guess, right? Not having a first round pick next year is going to hurt. I hope that they find a way to acquire some picks up until that point because they're going to need them. Because this is going to be a multi-year process, right? We keep bringing up Cam Newton, right? I'm gonna bring him up here again. It didn't take him and that Panther team until year 3 to figure out everything, right? The success aspect, what is good, what is bad, what works, what doesn't. Typically, that is the time that you really want to have an answer about a particular quarterback. That third year is the year where you want to see that noticeable jump. That's where Chicago is right now with Justin Fields. And I feel like they are at a point where they're like, okay, we're a little hesitant about moving forward with them because of how the season has started up to this point. So it's going to take time. Not everything's going to click. There was optimism coming into this season where, some of it was a little outlandish because, again, there were a lot of new pieces put into the mix that are not going to mess right away. So, ultimately speaking, you do have to put faith into what they are doing because, again, it's an investment for the future. And that's why they traded up to get Bryce Young because they felt like that he is that guy that can unlock the key to some success here in Carolina. And so that is the hope that I have. That is the belief that I have had coming into the season. It's been tested, obviously, with how things have gone so far. But moving forward, uh, I do feel like they have the people in place with the structure, with the pieces at the quarterback position to ultimately start to figure some things out. And again, have that light bulb moment uh, that he needs to have. We hope to see it soon. So yeah, that's where we're at right now, and
I was gonna say, did you forget that I was
I'm
gonna allow you to
still.
wrap us up?
I think I did,
That's all right. You're allowed
but
to.
I think
Well, since you paused, you give me a quick one to comment on, and then I'll let you wrap us up. All right.
right.
Here's one from
I
Chance
think that was
Hines.
good that I did that. Then. Oh
I
no,
like working with you, man. Chance Hines says, I live in Minnesota. Can we please beat the Vikes? Otherwise, I'll never hear the end of it living here. Can we? What you think? You know what? Let's do it for Chance. Frank,
let's do it,
Ivero, Thomas. Oh, yeah. Let's do it for Chance,
Andy.
man. That's my man. Chance is my man. All right,
He's a
Andre.
regular on here. We gotta do it for our regulars. But
I'll let
yeah,
you
to
close this
wrap it
out.
all up. Yeah. So again, thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. Definitely appreciate all the support, all the comments, all the call-ins that we had today. It definitely is appreciated. Again, we do this for all of you out there to give us an opportunity to vent, to get the temperature in the room, especially after games like yesterday. So, again, to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in this evening. Thanks for making us a part of your evening here tonight. For Chris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe, I'm Andre Cassidy. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we will be seeing all of you throughout the week as we start to get ready for Minnesota. Have a good evening, everybody.